JFK files are soon to be revealed. So there was a big announcement made that 80,000 pages are soon going to be released of the JFK files. And according to President Trump, they are supposed to be minimally redacted. Now, as excited as I am for these pages to be revealed, I'm also very, very skeptical at this point, especially after the whole Epstein files debacle. I am very limited on my trust on how much truth we are going to get. And I hate to be a pessimist, but just so y'all know, of the 80,000 pages we are getting, yes, hopefully that's a lot of the more concrete information, but there are 6 million pages in total when it comes to files related to Jeffrey Epstein, to JFK. And if you don't believe me, it's even on the website. If we can pull up this screenshot of the website, this website here is actually where the files are going to land once the files are released about JFK. And if you squint and you read in there, it does say how there are over 6 million pages of these classified documents that are hopefully going to be declassified in full. And someone told me that you can assume that a lot of these pages are either cover pages or headers or whatever that is. But at this point, I want to see everything. I want to see the index. I want to see the glossary. I want to see the MLA format page. I do. I want to see it all. I want to see the receipts. At this point, I need to see the receipts because I want to know what happened to JFK, because that is one of the biggest mysteries that has really just plagued our country in the last century. And just to kind of walk you back on some of the craziness of that situation and why there's a lot of questions for those of you who are like me and pretty young and obviously weren't around in that era to really learn the tea of what happened. Just a quick rundown. So back on November 22nd, 1963, JFK was assassinated in Dallas, Texas during a motorcade. Now, he was shot by a Marine sniper named Lee Harvey Oswald with a rifle. And he was arrested and they claimed that he was the lone gunman, which immediately to me, I have a lot of questions. I find it very shocking, the thought of a Marine going and assassinating the president. It really makes me wonder why and who it was that motivated you to do this. And, you know, there's a lot of people who have doubt, a lot of people who believe that either the CIA or the mafia or some government insider had influence in this situation and was suspected to be a part of Oswald's whole MO, because he does have a very murky past. And then what makes it even weirder is that just days after Lee Harvey Oswald murdered JFK, a lot of people don't know this, the killer was murdered too. The killer had an op too. A guy named Jack Ruby went and killed Lee Harvey Oswald just days later, which again makes me wonder, was there something that we weren't supposed to learn, or was this guy just someone who wanted to go and avenge the president? And when I read up on Jack Ruby a little bit, it talked about how he was a Jewish man that wanted to prove that Jews are strong and Jews are going to stand on business, which respect that, got to respect that. But this isn't really a way that you show that. And I just find that whole thing questionable because this is before, at least to my guess would be this was long before the whole thing of a murderer is going to be the person that is glorified, like how we have Luigi Mangione today, who is getting all this praise of being a murderer. I don't think, at least I would assume, that wasn't the energy that they had back then, but I just thought the whole thing was weird. Another thing that was really weird that I actually learned just a few years ago, because I have always recalled how JFK was shot in this motorcade, how the guy in front of him was shot in the motorcade, like all these people were hurt in the motorcade, and there was all these bullet wounds everywhere. Allegedly, that was one bullet. Let's play this video that breaks it down, because I just find it really suspicious.
A single bullet was fired from a rifle on a 6th floor window. First, it entered JFK's upper back and traveled downward, exiting through his throat. Then it struck the governor in the back, shattering a rib as it tore through his chest. The bullet continued, exiting the governor's chest and hitting his right wrist, breaking a bone. Finally, it lodged itself into the governor's thigh, where it stayed until removed by doctors in almost perfect condition. Now, investigators claimed that this is what happened. A single bullet caused 6 wounds while staying intact. But many argue that the bullet's trajectory is impossible. The angles just don't add up, leaving us wondering if there was actually more than one bullet.
Yeah, I have no shame in sometimes having a tinfoil hat, but that to me just seems so far-fetched that this bullet stayed in perfect condition and it was just one singular bullet that made this happen. I don't know if there were more than one shooter, but like I don't know. I just find it very weird. Do y'all find that weird? I find it a little weird. And then what makes it also more intense is we all know RFK Jr. now, part of his whole mission is how he wants to avenge his uncle and his father. Because RFK Sr. was also murdered June 5th, 1968. He was murdered in Los Angeles after a campaign speech. Now, they say that he was shot multiple times at close range by a guy named Sirhan Sirhan, a 24-year-old Palestinian, the ancestor of a Hamas member, more than likely. Yeah, I went there. But a 24-year-old Palestinian man went and shot him up. Now, when I said to pull a picture of RFK, I did not mean a picture of him looking gore like that. Miss Rodriguez, what is going on back there? I did not need to see that.
Will surprise us today.
Y'all scaring me with these scary images, Shell. But they say that the official report says that Sirhan acted alone. It was motivated by RFK's pro-Israel stance. Goes to show that not a lot has changed in the last, 60 years. Like, come on now. They've been beefing. These people have been beefing for like 10,000 years. I can't imagine beefing with somebody for 2,000 years. But at the same time, I could because I hold grudges. And I don't really trust people who don't hold grudges. If you don't hold grudges, I feel like you're a little too forgiving and you're a little too naive. But all that to say, I still wouldn't be out here murdering my op for hundreds, if not thousands of years. You have to learn to move on at some point. But all that to say, now, with RFK, there's a lot of questions, too, because there were extra bullets found inside of him and around him after the crime scene. So, again, they say that Sirhan was the one person that was involved in murdering RFK Sr., but it's confusing because his handgun doesn't hold as many bullets as there were found at the scene. So it has people wondering, was there a second shooter? Was the CIA involved? What was going on here? Both of these deaths are clearly tied to political motives with a lot of skepticism around it. So I just have a lot of questions. I have a whole lot of questions, but one of the elements of this that I think is really underrated, or maybe it's just because I'm a stan of her, is I want to know the truth of what happened to Marilyn Monroe. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I don't see enough people going there. What happened to Miss Marilyn Monroe? Okay? The icon, the beauty, the standard, the quintessential blonde. Like Marilyn Monroe, this iconic actress, she needs no introduction. Unfortunately, she died in August of 1962, so a few years before the Kennedys died, and she died allegedly of an overdose, or at least that is how it is deemed. Now, there are a lot of factors that make this really confusing, and why does she tie into the Kennedys? So I would assume a lot of you know by now the relationship with the Kennedys that she had, but some of you might not, because I bring it up randomly to people in conversation, and they will act surprised. They didn't know just the depth of Marilyn Monroe's relationship with the Kennedys. A lot of people speculate that her and JFK were romantic, which you can't really deny that if you see the receipts. But there's a lot of confirmation about the fact that her death was suspicious. At the minimum, her death was very suspicious. Because you break down some of these facts of how RFK Sr. actually visited Marilyn Monroe's home earlier in the day that she died. Oh, yes. And this has been confirmed by FBI surveillance records. This has been confirmed. The dynamic of the relationship was confirmed by Frank Sinatra's valet, all these different people. Even a neighbor of Marilyn Monroe supported that it is a fact that RFK visited Marilyn's home before she died. But what also makes it weird is that after she died, the whole cleanup effort of her crime scene was very, very rushed. It was extremely rushed. There were a lot of just basic protocols that you would take, especially when a star of this popularity and caliber dies unexpectedly and very suddenly. There are a lot of protocols that are supposed to take place that did not. She also had a lot of phone calls between her or amongst her, JFK and RFK, that were later erased by AT&T after they were initially confirmed to be real. So between that, the rapid cleanup, the delay of the police even being notified about the situation, also, one thing that I find very suspicious is how her autopsy is missing details about her stomach content. How can you declare that this woman died of an overdose, but you are not providing the context that were in her stomach and her autopsy? To me, that shows like there was foul play here that you don't want us to know. Another thing I thought was interesting was how Marilyn Monroe's housekeeper was shifting her story back and forth about the timeline of her death, and as well as about the Kennedys' contact with her, which hints at there was a lot of pressure that was there. So I just have a lot of questions about it. Did Marilyn know something that we weren't supposed to know? Did Marilyn know something that maybe Russia wanted to know? Like, what was going on in this situation that led to Marilyn Monroe being tied into this? I have a lot of questions about that. And, you know, some people also speculate that the Kennedys, and I'm not putting this out there because, again, I wasn't even there, Chad. This really ain't my business, but I'm making it my business because this is respectfully. But Marilyn Monroe and JFK, because JFK was having this clear affair with her. And before you can even deny that there was an affair, this is just mere months before Marilyn's passing, this iconic video. Can we play this video really quick of "Happy Birthday, Mr. President"?
Happy birthday to you.
So sultry.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
They don't make icons like this anymore.
Happy birthday to you.
Come on. You can't tell me. Any man is going to fold to that. You cannot tell me. I love her so much. You cannot tell me that JFK watched that performance and wasn't smitten over that girl. But there's all kinds of photos out there that you can find of them being very amorous. And it's actually said by Marilyn's old doctor that she was depressed and potentially abusing prescription drugs because of the breakup between her and JFK. So I have more questions about that. One way or another, her death seems like it was correlated to the Kennedys in some manner, and we deserve justice for Marilyn Monroe. And justice for Marilyn Monroe does not include what Kim Kardashian did. I love Kim Kardashian. Unpopular opinion, hot take. I'll fight with y'all about that on another day. But Kim K almost made me mad with this. Look at Kim K wearing Marilyn's dress. This is the same dress that Marilyn Monroe sang to President JFK in. And Kim, I believe, wore it to the Met Gala. I think it was the Met Gala she wore it to. Kim, you know good and well your body shape was stretching that out. Now, Marilyn was a curvy girl, which a lot of people don't fully realize. Like, I believe she was like a size 5. People try to act like she was a size 0. Marilyn was a curvy girl. But Kim, this was before you had your implants taken out of your behind or whatever fat redistribution you had going on. You knew good and well you shouldn't have been stretching out that girl's dress. That is an American treasure. But Kim K, you're basically the Marilyn Monroe of our era. And I can only say that about that.